Hello everyone. In this video, I'd like to show you a demo of the data transfer functionality in the conemis transition cloud. As the core part of the data migration journey, we migrate data efficiently and intelligently. So let's jump right in. Once the readiness assessment and creating extract definitions are done, we can select the corresponding extract definitions. In this demo, we've prepared a set of extracts for an account called Goliath, together with its attachments, contacts, goals, insurance policies, and opportunities. We can fetch the data with just 2 clicks from Salesforce into our system. Now, the next step is to define the transformation or the mapping. For this, we'll head over to the transformation part. Here on the left-hand side, we see the Salesforce objects, Salesforce Sales Cloud in this case, which is the source side. If we take one of the source objects, we see the associated destination side object or objects. It's also possible to split the data from one source object into several destination objects, or vice versa. Underneath the destination side object, we have the field mapping, source on the left-hand side, destination on the right-hand side, with the option to map a field directly, map a constant value or text, or use formulas to accommodate more complex requirements that the transformation project might bring. These formulas are based on Excel formula syntax, so for anyone who has already worked with Excel, it's quite easy to achieve good and quick results after just a bit of learning. Of course, there are some data migration-specific extensions to the language that allow things like foreign key resolution, for example, translation of IDs between source and destination, as well as conditional statements, string manipulations, and mathematical calculations. All of that can be done with formulas. Formulas can also be used to put conditions on the execution of mappings. So if you don't want to bring over everything and can't filter on the source side for some reason, you can add a formula here to limit or filter the records that are sent to the destination. In our scenario, we have 2 specific objects, the goal and the insurance policy. These are transferred from custom objects on the source side to pre-built objects on the destination side. One of them is an older object, a custom object, but prepared in the financial services package, and the insurance policy is a standard object that also comes with the financial services cloud. In this way, we can switch between standard and custom objects transparently. Both are treated the same, and transitioning from one to the other during migration is really easy. Now that we've defined the mapping, let's head back to our extracts and load them. You'll notice that there's no manual handling of CSV files. While downloading is possible, the data can be passed directly into the loading component. We select the right connection here, go into the staging or financial services cloud, and set a few parameters. For example, the number of threads, the number of parallel threads that send data to the API, the batch size, the number of records sent in one request, and the concurrency mode to reduce locking issues. Then we click Start. The conemis transition cloud automatically sorts the objects by rank based on their dependencies. It starts with the account and then works its way through the dependent objects. What we see here is one central concept of the conemis transition cloud, collaboration. In this list, I can see all activities that have taken place over time on this instance, who loaded what, when it happened, and what the status was. This enables seamless handovers. I could stop working, hand over to a colleague, and they could continue exactly where I left off. We're now waiting for the load to complete and for an error message to appear because we've intentionally prepared an error to demonstrate the issue handling capabilities built into the conemis transition cloud. We see the gradual progress through the objects. Most of them are green, and at the moment the opportunities show a warning, meaning something didn't load successfully. To diagnose this, we could use traditional log files, but as you can imagine, those become impractical when dealing with hundreds of thousands or millions of records. That's why we have load statistics. They show all loads that have taken place, and in this case, we're especially interested in the opportunity load. We can see that one record failed with a transformation error, more specifically, a LOV or a pick list error. Down here, we see that the opportunity type failed with the value, new business. Obviously, this value hasn't been mapped correctly. To fix this, we head back to the transformation, select the opportunity, search for the correct field, the type, and go to the LOV translation. On the left-hand side, we see the source values, and on the right-hand side, a slightly different set of destination values, so we need to select one manually. In cases where we have matches, it's also possible to use the auto-match functionality, either case-sensitive or case-insensitive, to find matches automatically. Auto mapping capabilities also work on the object and field level. If there's a high degree of correspondence, it's very time-saving to let auto mapping do its work and then handle the remaining items manually. Heading back to the loading part, we can retry the failed records. The key point is that we don't need to resubmit the whole batch, we just retry the single failed record. By clicking the Retry button, this one opportunity is resubmitted without any redundant processing of records that were already loaded successfully. As we can see now, the whole process has switched to a success state. Let's take a quick look at the result in the destination environment. We now have the account, its contacts, the financial goals we saw earlier, as well as the insurance policies, which are now standard objects migrated from a custom object. We also have notes and attachments, image attachments and text attachments, and we have the opportunity that just failed earlier, which has now been loaded successfully. This concludes the tour of the ETL process itself. The next part I'd like to show you is the scheduling component, which allows us to create workflows from extracts to loads and achieve things like synchronization. For example, if a customer wants to move users in groups to the new system, there may be a phase where users are working in both the source and destination systems. In that case, work done in the legacy system shouldn't be lost, but synchronized to the destination. Here we can define a workflow, add extract and load tasks, and schedule it to run at predefined intervals, keeping the destination system in sync. The key advantage is that this reuses the mapping configuration from the initial migration, meaning very little effort is required to set up synchronization on top of the migration. The results will always be identical whether a record was migrated during the initial migration or synchronized later during the sync phase. The mapping, and therefore the resulting record in the destination, will look the same. Another scenario where this is useful is systems under high load, where extraction or loading during business hours could degrade user experience. In that case, the scheduling component can be used to run workflows during off hours. A consultant or user doesn't need to sit in front of the system and manually start each step. Instead, they can define the workflow, schedule it, or start it manually in the evening, go home, and continue working with the results the next morning, just as we've seen with manually started jobs. Thank you for watching. Ensuring that data migration proceeds smoothly is extremely important. At the same time, confirming that the migration is progressing according to schedule and managing its status are also essential to the success of the project. conemis Transition Cloud provides a dashboard feature, Performance Cockpit, that records data jobs and visualizes project progress. To see demos of the Performance Cockpit, please check out the related video. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. For more details on our Data Journey platform, visit our website or contact us through the links in the video description.